Hello friends, in today's episode we look into some important tips and tricks on successfully growing fruit trees in containers. Topics like which fruit trees to choose, seed grown versus cuttings grown versus grafted trees, and where to purchase high quality grafted fruit trees, and some very important repotting tips for newly bought plants whether from online nursery or offline. All that's coming up. Please watch this episode till the end as I have discussed some really important tips and concepts. Well, let's look into the topics covered in this episode. Plant purchase, whether seed grown versus cuttings grown versus grafted trees. Then repotting, should I repot immediately after purchase? Then the 10 golden rules to follow while repotting a plant. Then finally the common care tips for growing fruit trees. Well, let's begin with the plant purchase. I'm sure most of us might have this question in mind. Growing from seeds versus growing from branch cuttings, or choosing to purchase a grafted tree. Which one do you think you should opt for? First of all, growing from seeds is a great fun thing to do, and we all have done it many times for gardening fun and experimenting. But the major disadvantage of the seed grown trees is that they are not true to seed, meaning they may not produce the identical fruit tree, and moreover it might take ages for the seed grown trees to produce fruits. But of course there are some exceptions. Secondly, plants grown from cuttings, including the air layering method, may produce the genetic clones of the parent tree. Fruit trees such as figs, pomegranates, mulberries and many others are generally grown by this method. But the major problem with this method is they do not have enough roots developed to support fruit production, and moreover there are only fibrous roots and no tap roots, which are important for fruit trees for anchorage. Whereas the seed produced plants have a well developed tap root system, and this concept is used in grafting. The rootstock, which is the lower portion of the plant with strong root system, and the scion, which is the branch from the selected delicious fruit trees, which is grafted onto the rootstock. We have discussed various types of grafting and its advantages in another detailed episode. You can check that link in the description. Well, having said that, it's time to choose which trees to purchase for your container gardening. It's obvious that grafted trees, especially the dwarf varieties, are the best one to grow in containers. These are some of the fruit trees I purchased online from nurserylive.com, which I think is the largest online nursery in India. As you can see, this is a healthy mulberry tree loaded with delicious fruits. This is a grafted tree. Then this is another great grafted pomegranate tree. Then this is a fig tree and looks fine and healthy. This is a banana tree, and the last one is a cashew tree, which is again a grafted tree. I also got some free gifts with my purchase. This looks like lavender. This is some flower booster fertilizer. So far, I'm extremely happy with these plants. Look at the potting mix they have used, it's really awesome. Most local nurseries use clayey soil, which is quite difficult to get rid of. I have provided some links to purchase these plants online in the description box below. Well, now the second topic, repotting. Whether purchased online or offline from a local nursery, people often have a misconception that immediately repotting a newly purchased plant into a larger container and a nutrient-rich potting soil will make your plant grow like crazy. But this is not always true. Now let's discuss some very important points and concepts you must keep in mind if you want to keep your newly purchased plant healthy and avoid the so-called repotting or the transplant shock. To answer these questions, let us ask two questions. When do I repot a newly purchased plant offline, that is from a local nursery or a garden store? Then when do I repot a plant purchased online, that is like from nurserylive.com or Amazon? Now let's quickly look into the conceptual answers to these queries. If your plant just came home from a local garden store or nursery, do not repot immediately. Let it adjust to its new environment for a few days or at least a week before repotting it. This is because the plants are already in shock at their new residence until they get used to the new factors like light, temperature, humidity and stuff like that. Then in the second scenario, that is when you purchase a plant online, repotting immediately is the best solution in most cases because it is very much likely that the plants would have traveled hundreds or thousands of miles and many days without any water or moisture before reaching its final destination. The plant will be going through a recovery period and an acclimation period during these days of transport in whatever medium the seller packs them in. So why let the plant re-acclimate twice in this situation? Now the third topic, the 10 golden rules of repotting. Let's quickly list them one by one. On number 1, water the plant day before you plan to repot. Then number 2, perform repotting in the evening hours to prevent the shock to the plant during sunlight, that is the daytime, which is the active period for photosynthesis. Let it get overnight period of rest and recovery. Then on number 3, to remove the root ball, gently tap the rim of the pot to a hard surface like a table or a counter. This is to loosen the root ball instead of pulling it with force, which can damage the roots or the stem. If the root ball resists to come out, run a knife between the pot and the root ball to loosen the root ball. Then on number 4, inspect the root ball for things like any root worms or maggots, root disease, and whether they are root bound to decide whether you want to repot in a larger container or perform root pruning. On number 5, choosing the right container. For fruit and vegetable plants, especially if you are growing on terrace, choose fabric grow bags as your first preference. This is because these are not only light but also follow the principles of air pruning and can grow into healthy trees using this principle. If you want to know what is air pruning, you can watch my detailed episode on that topic from a card linked at top right corner of the screen. Then it is also very important to choose a pot that is of appropriate size for the plant. Like you should never repot a 6-inch pot plant into a 14-inch or a very large pot. Go step by step. Choose 1 or 2 steps higher, like 6-inch pot you can repot in a 8-inch or a 10-inch container and so on. Then on number 6, drainage holes. This is probably the most important factor you should consider. If you do not make enough drainage holes at the bottom of the pot, your plant will stand in water and this will lead to root rot and death of the plant. On number 7, choosing the right soil. As a general rule, use a well-draining, nutrient-rich soil with at least 30% compost like vermicompost or decomposed cow dung. To make it well-draining, you might have to add coco peat or peat moss to garden soil in proper proportions. Make sure you also add stuff like bone meal or soybean meal for inducing flowering and fruiting. You can watch my detailed episode on the best potting mix recipe from a link in description. Then on number 8, partially fill the container with potting mix and then place the root ball exactly in the center of the pot. Then add additional soil to cover the empty space. Make sure the surface of the root ball is below the rim so that you can cover it adequately with potting soil or compost, and also there is good space for properly watering your plant. Then on number 9, gently tap the pot on a hard surface to remove air pockets and also to level the soil from within. Then on number 10, finally, after repotting, water the plant thoroughly, and this also removes leftover air pockets and stuff like that. Then to counter the repotting or the transplant shock, you can follow these simple steps. That is, water the plant with Epsom salt solution weekly once for about a month. The dosage is 1 teaspoon Epsom salt per liter of water. Finally, keep the plant in indirect sunlight or under a green shade net for at least a week before shifting it to full sunlight. Plant-specific care tips for individual fruit trees will be discussed in separate, detailed episodes. Regarding the common care tips for fruits and vegetable plants, please watch my detailed episode from this end screen link circled right here. So, there you have it folks. Please give me a thumbs up if you found this video helpful. Also share this with your gardening friends. Comment below with your experience and feedback. Consider subscribing if you're new to the channel. Happy gardening!